I have created 2 AI SaaS products.
ChatGPT is correct representation of AI.
ChatGPT is a very small section in that entire AI umbrella.
US and China and the powerful countries are trying to make military robots. AI is being implemented in military. What is your theory about it?
The question of why Donald Trump probably would not fund everything in US military budget to open AI and say, okay, create me a weapon.
Is it the next big thing like internet happened?
We have something called a Gartner hype cycle. Right now, AI is at the peak of hype cycle. It's where the world is right now.
Who is creating this? A lot of people are going to lose jobs in AI. This is again a hype. What is the truth about it?
Take some jobs like this graphic designer and blog writer, those kind of jobs. But again, they cannot replace humans. They can be an assistant to humans. That's what my analysis.
That level. Why AI cannot reach that level of consciousness?
Yeah. As to create consciousness, we should understand what causes consciousness.
AI is not a threat to human beings.
Yes.
Wow.
कोई बात नहीं. Okay. Okay.
Tell me that what is your contribution in the world of AI? Artificial intelligence की जब बात कर रहा ना, what have you done?
You can say that I have created 2 AI SaaS products. Though I have not made a lot of money from that, but that's something that you can say that I have done in the field of AI. This was well in 2019 and 2020-21.
What is SaaS?
SaaS is software as a service. एक सॉफ्टवेयर को लेके instead of installing it in their computers, you install it in some place so that people can just use it without any installation. That is software as a service. So what I created along with my college friend under the name of a company called Ampere is first was a face recognition SaaS, where you give a photo and it will tell you whether this photo is already present in the already existing database or not.
Okay.
That did not work out because the market was not ready for it and we were too small. And the second SaaS that I created was called Note Select. It was to help salespeople, not make a lot of mistakes by looking at their emails and, messages and making sure that it's an assistant for salespeople. That was also an AI kind of a product. These are the 2 things that I have done in the field of AI so far.
So you're someone who know the nitty-gritty of AI, like code level, how it works.
You can say that, yes.
Perfect. All right. So how AI works when we say artificial intelligence? Why is it so smart?
So artificial intelligence, if you just split the words, it is intelligence that is not natural. So somebody else has given it intelligence. And that process is known as training. So what you do is you give some examples saying, these are the things that I want you to do. And looking at the examples, they will sort of pretty much mimic whatever you gave, right? For example, now all the craze is about ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT is what we call as a large language model, where it is a, AI that is trained using large corpus of data. Large amount of data, which is text data. For example, take Wikipedia. It is just one article. Wikipedia is small language model. If I have created a using Wikipedia as just one article, that becomes one small language model. But what if I create all AI using all Wikipedia articles in the world, all blogs in the world, all things that are present in the World Wide Web, maybe some recipes that we have for, probably making the best resume in the world. All these things, if you train, and it sort of understands and what it shines, for example, things like ChatGPT, where it shines is, it does one thing very simply, very perfectly. It is called the next word prediction. If you are giving it one word, it will tell you what the next word could be because it has looked at all possible combination of text. Right. So like that, it continues, goes on. I ask, ChatGPT to create a blog. What it will do is it will create the first word and then the second word and then the third word until the blog completes. Where does it get the next words? It is from its own training, past training, right? It's all probability kind of equation. Whatever has the highest probability, that word comes up.
So can I say that training as a learning?
Yes.
So the learning is coming through some sort of experience?
Yes, you can say that humans learn through experience, whereas AIs learn. Actually, internally, if you see how our human brain learns is by creating information inside what we call our nerve cells. Our brain is full of nerve cells, neurons we call it, right? So what we have in our body is a neural network. Multiple neurons, nerve cells joined together, and that becomes a neural network. Similarly, what we have done is our computer scientists have created a computer model of the human brain, where there also it is called neural networks. But that neural networks is called artificial neural networks because they are not naturally occurring. You have created it. So we studied how the neuron works, and the same neurons we created inside a computer program, and basically used that in order to learn things. So it learns things very much similar to how a human brain learns things. There are minor differences, but pretty much it is the same.
Okay, 1 second. We're getting too technical. What first thing I want to know that is ChatGPT is correct representation of AI?
AI is a very big umbrella, right? AI is anything that you know mimics an intelligence artificially, right? So ChatGPT is a very small section in that entire AI umbrella, if you see, right? ChatGPT belongs to a class called large language model, where it just predicts the next word again and again until a sentence completes, or until a block completes, or until a joke completes. It's a very specific model, but why it got, and there are other models also. For example, you could give an AI picture of a cat or a dog, and it can tell whether it is a cat or a dog. That's what we call as classifiers. That's another kind of AI, right? For example, good example of that could be your Gmail has an automatic spam detection mechanism. How that works? Google has trained an AI using multiple spam messages, right? A Nigerian prince is giving you his, money, and you have won a lottery. These are all typical spam messages. So what Google has done is they have collected, because they are in the business of email, they get a lot of spam emails in their system. So they took that and created an AI which will do one simple thing: spam or not spam. It will put any email that comes into one of these buckets. The moment the email is put into the spam bucket, it goes into your spam folder so that it does not come into your inbox. That's one AI example.
Right, but let me stop you here. So now you're talking about historical data that has to be fed. Based on that, AI takes a decision. Okay. My question is, in future, or I don't know, maybe in present also, is AI smart enough smart that it can now start predicting whether it is a spam or not spam without based on the historical data, like a new prediction, taking decision, taking reasoning, which we say, okay, this spam message is not in the historical data, but AI knows that this is a spam message.
Yes, already our systems sort of do that only. Even the Google spam message, they will not look for word by word. What they do is they digest the different kind of spam messages into numbers. They convert it into small numbers using an encoding algorithm, right? They call it the encoding algorithm. It is basically you need computer to be able to read it for doing something about it, and give those numbers. And what happens is that the larger your training data is, if you give it, let's say, only two spam emails and ask it to classify as spam or not spam, maybe it will not perform well. But what if you give it 20 million messages, right, and ask it to classify spam or not spam? It all depends on the how much good training data you have. If your training data is good, then your AI can perform even in this out of syllabus question को भी answer दे सकता है.
Okay, and
It's think of it like I'm teaching it using some questions. Now 3 को 2 कर दिया एक जगह पे. But will it not consider it as a spam? We will still consider it as a spam if you have a very large variety of data as a training data. But if your training data is poor, it is biased, it is shit, like what we have on internet, then probably your AI will also be a reflection of that. That part is there.
right. So the whole again, I'm trying to understand कि इतना अगर training data if I'm providing to a mind, let's say artificial mind only, is there any upper limit, like how, I mean that's the reason human mind becomes so smarter and smarter day by day, because we train our mind based on certain data and information and input, right? If AI is trying to mimic that, there it can outsmart itself also, or human minds also someday, right? Based on the kind of data we are feeding to it and kind of training that we are giving to AI to perform certain tasks, are we aware about the upper limit that it there could be a day when it can outsmart itself and it can go out of hand, or it can do something nasty?
Yeah. There are theories that are floating around now, right? If you look on the AI Twitter circles which talk about AI, uh, they have multiple words, nice looking words, right? Right now we have AI, but they talk about something called AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. What that means is that right now all the AIs you pick are narrow AIs. They do only one thing nicely. For example, ChatGPT can only do text processing, and it can give you probably good blogs, good jokes, good poems, right? And probably Sora is another model which can give you videos, right? They are all narrowing their own separate.
Subtasks. Yeah.
Whereas AGI is a futuristic concept where one AI can do anything, any task you throw at it. You say, make me an omelette, it should be able to make an omelette, right? That is AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, right? And that is something that we do not, as a community, have a common definition of. The definition of AGI, each person tells in a different way. But if you ask Sam Altman, he will say the definition in such a way that it is very nearly achievable maybe in another 4 or 5 years. But if you ask somebody else from academic community, they will say a definition which is probably not viable even in 10 years down the line, right?
So the implementation has not started yet. It's just
People say it is started. They say LLMs are the first step to AGI.
so what we talked about it LLM, right? ChatGPT, DeepSeek, or Siri, so whatever is all are LLM, right?
Yes.
So you're saying that's a very small part of it, like very small,
Very
narrow models. Now the when we say that AI is a threat to humanity, now you're talking about AGI.
Yes. AGI is where AI is equal to humans, but to some expert humans, right? Not some normal human, expert human in multiple fields. That is AGI. There is another term that people throw. It is called ASI, Artificial Super Intelligence,
Oh my god.
right? When you talk about artificial super intelligence, it will exceed the capability of a human in all fields,
Oh.
right? But is it viable 10 years down the line? My personal opinion is probably it is 20, 30, 50 years down the line. Certainly not something that we need to be aware of right now. We need to be worried about right now. Not even AGI. People will talk about, okay, AGI, if it comes, then nobody will have jobs. You don't have to be worried because AGI is not in the, in the near vicinity of us. And even if it has to happen, right, there are a lot of ifs that need to go well for AGI even to materialize. Right? That if the first if is, do we have enough funding for that? If funding is not there, for us to move from LLMs to AGI, maybe that will not happen.
No, but how I've heard that US and China and the powerful countries are trying to make military robots. AI is being implemented in military. Is that AGI or ASI? Because LLM, I doubt कि LLM जैसा कुछ military में डाल रहे होंगे. Because US is definitely creating military Iron Man जैसा कुछ concept लेके आ रहे हैं. That robots are going to fight. जैसे अभी drone fight करते हैं तो robots are going to fight. What is your theory about it? कि कैसे होगा ये?
Yes. Remember I told you AI is a very broad field. So LLM based AIs can only do so much. And let us talk about what is the minimum bar you have to pass for something to be called as AI. Let's talk about that, right? Whatever a common, for example, a non-living thing, a table cannot do. If your software does that, right? That is the lowest bar for AI, right? I'll repeat, whatever a non-living thing, right? The vase, the table, the camera maybe has some intelligence in it, but whatever it cannot do, if your software does that, if your system does that, if your hardware does that, that is good enough for an AI. For example, when we talk about AI being used in defense, AI being used for fighting wars, it can be in multiple ways. For example, I might just detect, the enemy planes from the video, right? That could be an AI in itself because when I look at a video, I need to be able to precisely or, probabilistically say that, okay, there may be an enemy plane that is coming here. And what they would have done is internally, they would have trained a model, not necessarily a large language model in that case. What it will do is it will do either 1 or 0. 1 means enemy plane is there in the field, 0 enemy plane is not there in the field. it will keep on giving 0 or 1 depending on whether the video has an enemy plane or not. They could have created data for it to be identify planes, right? That also classifies as AI, where a table cannot do that, but your system can find detect enemy planes.
Is that thing already there in defense?
Is already there. We may not know exactly whether defense people are using that or not, but that is something that should have already been there.
Heard during this India-Pakistan war, this was used that the defense, the air defense system of India is having AI capability, because then intercepting hundreds of drones at one time, and exactly targeting and hitting it back. So it cannot be done without AI, like finding the exact location, the exact probability of that location, and the missile is hitting at that location. Some sort of intelligence is used.
Coming back to the question of
War robots, because that will include decision making also.
yes,
And
if you see self-driving cars include decision making, right? That is also AI if you look at it that way, right? Instead of that, you are basically using a different mechanism, right? Instead of making sure that a car goes on road, you are making sure that there is a company called Boston Dynamics. I am not sure if I'm telling the name correctly, but they are into this field of they created a dog that you can train to do some work, right? It looks like a dog, but it is very sturdy. If And they also created, I think, humanoid robots where you there I have seen some videos where people are wondering, okay, how when these things go to war, humans cannot fight against them, right? They are very sturdy, they are very powerful.
they are more smarter than human beings, human mind, right? जैसे एक I've heard this an AI model who can play chess. उसका नाम भूल गया.
Since beginning, also
So again, chess playing is also a lot of permutation and combination and decision making, right? And that has the capability to beat the best of grandmasters. It's now very powerful, I think, about what I've heard. So वैसा ही कुछ over the period of time, do you foresee, do you perceive कि कुछ ऐसा हो सकता है कि there can be a lot of things in our day-to-day life also wherein AI will start replacing human beings in our day-to-day life, in decision making, in reasoning, making our efforts easier.
there are some things that we can or I'm sure somebody is doing already to remove decision making from households. For example, very common case, morning we wake up, 3-4 people are sitting are there in a family, and सुबह खाना के लिए क्या बनाना है, right? What to make for the breakfast is a very big decision, and sometimes that can result in a lot of unnecessary arguments also. And we could also avoid that arguments by creating what we call as a AI agent. The intervals look like this. Before we talk about AI agents, I tell you what an AI agent is. AI agent is nothing but take an AI like ChatGPT or any kind of this language model and give it a tool to actually work with the real world, right? Because LLM cannot directly work with the real world. It can just predict words, it can probably create blocks, and that's it. What if you want to do something in real world? Then you need some tools to be given to the AI. So what tool you give is, you ask it to read from probably your refrigerator. You can take a picture of your refrigerator and maybe you can create a camera within your refrigerator too. So the moment you want in the morning 7 o'clock, it just scans what is there in your refrigerator and identifies those objects. These are the objects that are there in my refrigerator, and suggest, because it has all the recipes from the World Wide Web. It was trained using ChatGPT, was trained using that. So given these ingredients,
What can be prepared?
if I say, and probably it would give you 3 choices.
Okay.
Instead of, kya banana hai, it's a very difficult question to answer, then what do you want? 1, 2 or 3?
But can it make a decision based on my mood? Can it?
Question. There is another AI agent that we have built also. It was a hobby project that we built where looking at your mood, right? And for example, the idea was to remove the decision making from movie jana hai, which movie to go to. Because if I go to book my shows, so a lot of movies are there. And it so happens that when 4-5 friends want to go to a movie, each person has their own kind of a choice after looking at the book my show. And then by the time we argue, decide and everything, the show times are already started and we say, okay, some other day we will go. How do you remove that from your life? what we do is, there can be a simple AI agent again, which says, okay, kaun si movie jana hai, right? Should it be like a light movie? Are you in for a very intellectual movie? Are you in for a very tragedy movie? Are you in for something?
Options there.
Now, when you choose the mood, it can go look at Book My Show, and you can find out what all movie pick it, and it suggests, you know what, this is the movie that you can go to today, given your mood, right? Without you looking at trailers, without you looking at reviews, anything. It can suggest something. And one more step again, after you go into the movie theater, right? What to buy for eating, right? There is a budget. So it can take the budget and say, you know what, with this budget, probably you can buy these things, looking at probably the PER's public price list. And that can help you to avoid a lot of decision-making arguments and mental bandwidth. You can go to movie, watch and come back. You can also plan your snacks and all these things. Right.
अभी का जो एआई मॉडल चल रहा है, लाइक आप इतनी देर बात करके ये समझ में आया कि इट इज़ नॉट दैट येट पावरफुल। व्हाटएवर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट एआई, दैट एआई is posing a threat to humanity is a just a theory in the mind of people कि ऐसा हो सकता है, right?
Can people create silly tools today that can, destroy or create threats to human beings? Certainly, yes. Certainly possible. But by its own, what do you say, just the AI itself going to the point of, threatening human beings sort of has not come yet.
Yeah, but then when a company whosoever is developing AI, जैसे OpenAI, they're working on do they have any checks and balances and any regulation कि इसके आगे भैया गए तो ये तो फिर तो definitely it will surpass human race. कुछ ऐसा है checks balances, और company just look for short term profit, और भाई पैसा कमा रहे, जब तक बनाना है बनाओ. And there can be a time like you said ना, mood, अभी तो mood के लिए you put an option. AI अगर वो it starts learning from human beings and living with human beings, करते करते वो actually without giving an option it should be able to understand the mood of you, emotion of you कि आज तो इसका mood ठीक नहीं है, let's play a nice song for him. Okay, थोड़ा एसी का हवा कम कर देते, ठंडा कर देते हैं, and let's play a nice song for him. ऐसा वो ना, it's just like a human company जो आपको समझता हो.
Yes, you can look at your WhatsApp recent conversation. If you have gone through a breakup, probably it will not suggest some movies for you to watch.
Right. Right. Data oriented, or anyways, like based on the experiences, even if AI can actually read your facial expressions, आपके wrinkles और आपके चेहरे पे क्या चल रहा है, your reactions, how slow is your neural movements, your body. But when AI will actually start reading human emotions, feelings, before that it should be able to understand that human emotions and feelings. Human emotions, feelings are humans. It is related to human beings, not machines, right? Machines. Is it still a concept ऐसा होने का, या फिर something is already going on?
So, I answer your first question first. Does OpenAI or any other company has some
Checks and
balances, right? It's a philosophical issue. OpenAI and multiple other companies started with the philosophy of, if we don't do it, a bad actor will do it first. There is a philosophy called E/ACC, effective accelerationism. You go to, multiple, AI enthusiasts or AI big names in the Silicon Valley which are pushing for AI innovation. At least until recently now, they used to have something called E/ACC in the Twitter name. Sam Altman -E/ACC, which effective accelerationism, which means we need to accelerate the pace at which we are innovating in AI, because if we don't do it, a bad actor will do it.
Who is the bad actor here?
We don't know. They decide that, right? They think that they are not the bad actor, but do we think they are not the bad actor? Certainly not, right? But that philosophy actually makes sure that you get into AGI.
Okay.
You get into AGI by hook or crook. Of course, there are practical limitations to it, like funding, right? Now, if funding dries up, how can you make that effective accelerationism? Who is there to fund? Today, all the big AI names, they're all running in loss. OpenAI is running in loss. They are burning investors' money.
ChatGPT is in loss.
Yes, they are running in losses. They are burning.
Then why are they doing it? Why?
E/ACC. That is why they are doing it. They want to. What do you say? See that there is a lot of politics around. It started as a non-profit and then it became a for-profit. that is a different story. But ultimately, they are also now realizing that if I want to do this race towards the next step of AI, I need funding, and that funding seems to be drying up very quickly, very soon right now.
Why they wouldn't get funding? Like, let's say I'm the president of US and I want my military robots. Why wouldn't I fund you? You are the creator of AI.
Yes.
I'll give you money. Give me war robots.
Yes. Is it a bet or is it a proven technology?
It's a bet, of course. But I would love to bet.
I would rather spend money on, any proven technology that can, help me to defend myself and go on offensive.
It's already there, but everything is a bet until it is proven, right?
Why would US government make that bet?
Okay, let me ask this. DeepSeek आया China से, right? Do you think that DeepSeek has pushed OpenAI to be more aggressive?
Yeah, lot of people. Leave DeepSeek.
Now,
Meta, Facebook has made OpenAI to be more aggressive. You know what? Whatever OpenAI is giving at a cost, Facebook said, I don't care. I'm going to give it to anybody for free, which they can run in their own laptop or their own system. So Llama, it was a new model that came. Now Llama is also an established model. It's free, open source. अभी हम बड़ी बात कर रहे हैं. The basic thing today, leave 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Today, even the businesses which say that, okay, I'm adopting this, software given by ChatGPT or software given by Llama, software given by Facebook, are they making any cost savings? Are they making their systems better? The answer is not yet very clear. Most of the answers tend to be, okay, not quite. There is a huge difference between what the marketing claims and what the reality is. Marketing is probably up here and reality is very down, right? Now, unless that shows some progress, that shows some, closing of the gaps, until then, nobody is going to take this very seriously also. Like, even though people talk about it, it is a what if question. It is not a when question for them.
okay.
If it becomes a when question, then people will act. If it becomes a what if question, there are hundreds such what ifs are there. Right? People may not effectively act on the what if. The question of why Donald Trump probably would not fund everything in US military budget to OpenAI and say, okay, create me a weapon, that may not happen because it is still in the what if territory. Nobody has told or nobody has demonstrated that we could create AI workflows, AIs, using whatever technology Sam Altman has to even deliver business outcomes to some extent.
Okay. Is it not sure that AI is the next big thing in human race in this technology world? Is यहाँ तो confirm है ना? Is it the best? Is it the next big thing like internet happened?
You could say.
Can we doubt it?
Okay. If you ask me personally, it is there is something called a Gartner hype cycle. There's a company called Gartner, which basically evaluates multiple technologies, tools, and they provide a report. They are a research company, let's say. Now, they have something called a Gartner hype cycle. Hype cycle is basically anything that starts. Initially, not a lot of people will know about it, and then the hype starts. And many people will slowly get onboarded. And at some point in time, invariably, the history has told us that the hype will suddenly come down. We call that a valley of frustration. And then people will realize, okay, hey, you know what? They promised the world, but probably this much is only possible. And they will adjust their expectations and probably move to a valley, what we call as, a zone of productivity, where really productive stuff happens. Right now, AI is at the peak of hype cycle.
Okay.
That's
So
the-
this is deliberately getting created. Hype.
Yes, hype is deliberately getting created, and that's where the world is right now.
Who is creating this?
Yeah, a lot of people who can benefit from creating that hype. Sam Altman is one such person, and all the big
Who is Sam Altman? Let the viewers know.
Sam Altman is the founder of a company called OpenAI. Or rather, he now owns the OpenAI in some way or other. He's officially the CEO. But yeah.
So basically, he's the founder of the AI. Can I say that?
Not necessarily. AI dates back to, I think, even mid 1900s. LLM based this ChatGPT, large language.
The founder of ChatGPT.
There, Sam Altman is the first person who sort of created and gave it as a product to in front of people's hands. That too, it's questionable the methods that he employed to create that. People generally ask why Google was not able to create what Sam Altman created.
Good question. Why?
So in order to create a AI like ChatGPT, right, which gives you this kind of a very exciting wow factor, you need huge text data, which means you need to go through each and every website on the internet and train your AI using that. The problem is with legality of that. Copyright laws prohibit you from, training your AI on copywriters again. But Sam Altman, since he was very early to the market, the theory is that he was somehow able to do that while people were not watching. If Google had done that, probably Google would have been caught, right? That is the difference there. Now, there is also a lawsuit. I don't know if it is still running or not in New York City. New York Times sued OpenAI saying, I am able to get word by word same sentences that I have printed in New York Times as a response in ChatGPT for these questions. They gave along with screenshots. The documents are publicly available, right? There is a case that is still running. They say that they gave, I think, some 25 to 50 screenshots, like where a verbatim, exactly word by word was present in the response of ChatGPT. And that is not applicable. That is that, which sort of proves that they used New York Times articles to train ChatGPT. And second, they're also reproducing, which means they're infringing the copyright.
Copyrights, yes.
Right. So legality is a question. Somehow Sam Altman
Bypass
to
that.
do it bypassed. I don't know. They were able to do it. The theory. It's again theory. Nobody can confirm that, right? With when people were not watching. But if they have to do it today, it's going to be huge because human data is needed. You can't train AI with AI generated data. You need human generated data. For that, how much humans do you need to employ if you have to generate all the data? It's going to be huge. The investment is going to be huge just to create the data. Then training costs are even more higher.
So are you saying that these all big shot people who are actually selling their AI products are also into creating hype about it so that more marketing, more people will come to know, and then more products will be sold? Okay.
Yes. If I'm selling you a hammer, I will show you that my hammer is the solution for all problems in the world. Right? If I have to make, let's say, a dosa, I will say use hammer to make a dosa. Whereas hammer is not the right tool to make a dosa. Right? That's what's happening right now.
So my assumption, not like my what I was thinking about AI is that next coming 5 to 10 years, AI will be in each and everything of my life.
It is true. That is true.
And this is not a part of hype. That's why it's a truth.
Because it is true. Already it is there. If you see your phone, all of our phones have this fingerprint thing. That is AI.
Then what is hype?
Right? Hype is in making, like for example, hype is basically on what these ChatGPT kind of applications have created. For example, can it replace coders? That's one question. That is hype, in my opinion, as of today.
Is your opinion that they can't replace coders?
Not today, not in another 5-10 years at least. There needs to be a huge thing that's, huge change of scenery for that to be actually able to happen.
Why do you think when AI ChatGPT is coding well? Like I've seen some examples.
Yes. So ChatGPT, when people are demonstrating the coding abilities of ChatGPT, they create what we call carefully chosen examples to further their cause. Any marketing demo for that matter, even if you are taking any software when they are demoing, they will have done that rehearsal long many times so that they are able to show the value to you. They are carefully chosen scenarios. Whereas real world is not that carefully chosen. It is very complex. It has multiple combinations, multiple possibilities. Has it made coding a little easier? Can it be a coding assistant? I agree. It can be a good coding assistant, but still it cannot replace coders. You know why? Because where any demo that they are showing in terms of coding capabilities of all these AIs, they start something from scratch. How many of us, even in India, how many of us are working on some code that we are starting from scratch? We don't. There is already something available. On top of that, you need to add, right? Which means the AI should first read what is already there. And for that, there is a limit called contextual. It can only remember so much. All AIs, they can remember only so much, right? In chat, when you talk about the chat GPT's model, they have 120K tokens, which means it can remember 120K words, 120,000 words approximately for a conversation. That's all. Beyond that, it will forget what you told. And if I'm sitting on a code base which was written over a period of 10 years, it easily surpasses that context window. And anything that it tells on top of that is going to be not really applicable, or even if it is applicable, it is going to not compile. Many times when I code, I use AI day in, day out for my coding workflows, yes. But do I directly trust to a point where, I'm saying, I will not hire any developer, I will use AI to do that? Certainly not. I want a human to look at what AI does so that AI can sort of repeatable and mundane tasks I will give it to AI, whereas human should be there as a coder.
Okay.
Do a lot of different aspects of
Clerical jobs, small. I actually, so what's your opinion about that? A lot of people are going to lose jobs in AI. This is again a hype. What is the truth about it? What is your opinion about it? Is
So that's a little tricky to directly answer, but I will try to answer. Has there been any job that has not been lost to technology before? The answer is, in a long enough timeline, all jobs will be lost to technology. I'll tell you how. For example, when we create nice marketing materials, for example, there were graphics designers who used to create nice marketing materials. For example, I want to post something on Facebook, digital marketing. So that graphics designing was a separate skill previously. Now a software called Canva came. It was not AI and all. Just Canva. They created a business model where they will give you ready-made templates which you can use. And they give you such a variety that yours will be separate from someone else's material. Right? Now that basically reduced the number of hirings that happened for, graphic designers. The graphic designers did not stop getting hired because of AI. Even before AI this started, Canva was a software that did that. So similarly, if you talk about losing of jobs, right? There are already some jobs probably that you know are not very. If I'm starting a college education today, let's say in graphic designing, I would say reconsider unless you are getting into a very specific niche, right? Because Canva can do that, and now AI can also do whatever picture you want to create. ChatGPT can do, but the cost is higher. That's a different story. Assuming people have money, they will somehow do that. Second thing, coming to the cost, let us say we come to a situation where OpenAI can do even the coding part, right? Now, at what cost is the question? Will it be as low as the billing rate of somebody sitting in India or Philippines? Or will it be more than that? If that billing rate is more than that, nobody is going to use that. They would rather use here.
no, but what a coder can develop a code in, let's say, 10 days, AI can do it in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Right.
that is always there. But again, if you cannot directly use what it does, that's the problem there, right? You need to be very fine tuned, and there is a lot of process involved. So the idea is, if it is going to cost less than, right, what a developer does, that's going to be another indicator, right? Third is that any technology, right now, when the internet came, right, people thought bank teller. There was one story that I read actually saying people thought that the bank tellers, they will all go out of jobs because
ATM machines are it.
internet
Acha, ATM machines came, yeah.
came and all these things. But what happened was that more ATM machines got installed in different places, and because more ATMs were installed, we needed more branches, and because of more branches, we needed again more tellers, and somehow, if you compare the number of the jobs, this is again hearsay and what I watched on a YouTube video, but it is not that much of a difference when you compare. There may be a sudden change in the number of jobs, but over a long period of time, it sort of you know gets into the better zone. You basically your capabilities are increased now. Similarly, .com. So initially, people were creating separate computer applications, and this app ecosystem came, right, where people were creating Android apps, and now number of Android app developers grew, even in India. Right now, what will happen again? AI agent developers will grow. That's what I see. People will be able to repurpose some of the skills that I already know, and they will learn something new. And that's good for humanity. That's good for themselves.
Okay, it's a very positive podcast. I was having very negative idea about AI ki yaar AI क्योंकि see I have grown watching these movies AI robot. एक मूवी आया था हर the operating system a man fell in love with operating system. So उस मूवी में the operating system used to understand the person so well, like each and every emotions and feelings. He used to talk, share things, feelings, and they fell in love. Both fell in love with each other.
I think the secret sauce that you are going for is what we call as. There are two words. Maybe I'll talk about those two words. One is intelligence, right? Though the name is called artificial intelligence, it is not intelligent in the way that humans are intelligent. I'll give you an example. How do you and I speak? Are we predicting the next word and just making random sentences based on only we have a clear thought process and then we have a design in our mind? Then probably in very less number of microseconds we start speaking and it comes as a coherent language, at least in our mother tongue. Whereas today's AI is not intelligent because it is able to understand, think, not all that. It is just that the intelligence is not a property which is a feature. It is just emergent feature. It somehow happened. What I did, I trained my large language model on the entire WWW World Wide Web. So it saw all possible combinations of English words that are possible, and using which it is trying to mimic a grown up. If a child learns 4 or 5 words and it is trying to tell all those words and mimicking a grown up,
What if a new situation comes?
new situation comes, it cannot handle.
So AI cannot handle if a new situation.
That is what we call as hallucinations. Right? Let's come to that maybe 1 or 2 seconds later. But
Okay.
I'll use the child example, right? Let's say there is a child in your house, like 3 years, 4 years kind of a child. It listens to all the words that elders are speaking in the house, and suddenly it starts using the same words, and it starts repeating, right? Of course, in its own context, right? Now, would you call that intelligent or would you call that cute?
I will call that cute.
Cute, right? You would not be aware. You would not be afraid of that. Today's AI is just cute. It's not intelligent that you need to be afraid of that. It is going to come. You will not think that the baby is going to come and abuse you one day, or it's not going to do the same thing that the adults do.
Okay.
Right? It's just observed some people speaking English and it's just creating the very same kind of patterns and just appears cute. That's all.
So okay. So there's one big difference. That means what I am trying to understand is that me and you, or human beings, have awareness. We have consciousness.
Yes, that's the second point that I was going to do. Intelligence is, you understood it is
Yeah, please got it.
right. It is just making up, mimicking in its own cute way some sentences. And using that, we are basically saying it's general purpose. It can write code by mimicking other coders in a cute way. That's the intelligence part. Second keyword that I was going for is sentience.
Okay.
Consciousness that you spoke about, where the first person feeling. You, as Rahul, talking to Vivek, you know that you are talking to Vivek. You have the first person experience of being Rahul. No, I have the first person experience of being Vivek. And the viewers have the first person experience of being themselves.
And this is not coming from any historical data.
No, we don't know where it started, right? There is a field called Advaita Vedanta in Hindu philosophy, which specifically talks about that. Even though we don't go there, though there is a link also, we will talk about that. Maybe I'll give you another.
Interesting.
That sentience or the first person experience or the consciousness that I am so and so, right? And I am having the first person experience of something that is happening around me. That is not there for any machines. The her example that you spoke about, which means that her example, in that movie or in that story, that AI had sentience, that I am separate from somebody else. And it was looking at the world from its own vantage point and it knew that it had that first person experience, right? There is no way in which an AI can have that.
Not even in future.
Discover the secret sauce of creating consciousness yet. We can create mimic intelligence to some extent, but not consciousness. That's
Okay.
in fact there is a Swami called Swami Swaropriyananda. He is one of the monks in Ramakrishna mission, and he sits in New York. There was a conference about AI, and he was invited as a keynote speaker to talk about how the science of consciousness and AI can sort of have some parallels and all these things. There is some amazing talk, right? Maybe you can search for that in YouTube and you can find that. He spoke about it, about how consciousness is not a part of anything in AI, and AI cannot reach that level.
No, what makes you say that it cannot reach that level? Why AI cannot reach that level of consciousness?
Yeah, for that, for us to create consciousness, we should understand what causes consciousness. So far, human beings have not understood that. Then how will you create that?
Okay.
We have not been able to create even a single living organism so far.
And it cannot
We
come
are talking about creating an intelligent living organism.
and it cannot come through gradual learning process, or it is not related to
Learning process. Today's materialistic worldview thinks that it is just pushing the boundaries. I push this boundary, that boundary, it will happen. But if you look at the way Indians and Indian rishis look at it, it is not in the same plane of existence.
So what you're trying to say is that human being is not just about mind, because AI means artificial intelligence. There is an intelligence involved. But when you're saying that consciousness, then you're separating the mind with something. And then here AI is limited because it is mimicking the mind. And if it is mimicking the mind, it will never be able to go to the level of consciousness because it is separated to the mind, from the mind.
Human being itself, how we see, if you see him as a collection of body part that somehow got consciousness because of its mind, because of some chemical reactions that happen inside body, that is a wrong worldview, because we are not able to, there is a text called hard problem of consciousness, right? People don't know where that consciousness comes from. So when you go with that mindset, it's not possible. It is a wrong worldview in the first place. Like you say, mano buddhi ahankara chittanina, I am not the mind, I am not the body, right? I am not the ego. That's how it goes. You are not the body, you are not the mind, you are something else.
So okay, it's a saving grace then for me. I mean, अभी मान लीजिए AI, let's say ASI or super intelligence AI in like 20 or 50 years later वो human पे कब्जा कर लिया, right? उसका intelligence supersedes the intelligence of human being. So what is your opinion कि that is what's the one thing that it will be never able to mimic about human being? Is that the consciousness? कि एक वो चीज़ है जो separate करेगा कि human being and AI एकदम अलग है, and that has to be the saving grace for human beings. Using that, it can actually, if let's say a battle between AI and human beings,
Yes.
right? वो होता है
The principle that AI has to be created by somebody else, which is humans in this case, I am assuming. Unless humans figure out how to create consciousness, you cannot create consciousness in AI also. Right? So that way, we are saved.
Can it be even created, or it just there?
We are not. That's what I'm saying. Can it be even created is a bigger question. Yes, it is just there.
Okay, let's not get there. It's it.
Or to get together. Unless human, even in materialistic terms, unless human beings are not able to create conscious matter, we cannot create a sentient or conscious AI. There is more danger of an idiot creating an AI which can harm a lot of people than AI becoming more intelligent and harming a lot of.
No, it's same like when you can't control your mind, mind starts controlling you, right? So AI is also a mimicking of mind, right? So if we can't control AI, it gets smarter than you, then it will start controlling you, because the control का पूरा behavior है कि smarter person controls the less smarter person, right? So in future में अगर वो ज़्यादा smart हो गया, they will start controlling human being.
Yeah. But then that means that requires how do I say? The world itself is extremely complex, right? There is one series called Person of Interest, which showed that in a very nice way. I think it was very well ahead of its time. There is an AI which helps in making sure that crimes don't happen or something like that, right? Now, there also, in order just to make sure that a crime does not happen, it has to look at multiple data sources, right? For example, it needs live audio feed from multiple mics in the city. Just talking about New York City, not about the world, right? In that series also, it needs visuals from all the webcams in the city, all the street cams in the city, and it needs all the bank transactions that are going behind. So much data it needs to gather in order to even do the things that that series is talking about, like fighting crimes just in the New York City. Now, when you are talking about this kind of a system that you are talking about, where AI can grow without us being able to control, only thing is, are we exposing data? For example, financial data is not exposed by default. No AI is going to get into financials, at least in the next 10 years. Nobody is going to allow AI to get into, looking at your visual data unless you allow it to. It is not going to get there.
With sensitive information, military data also.
Yes, any sensitive data is already cut off, right?
Yeah, but we are talking about regulations here. We're talking about is it checks and balances here? Do we have?
Are one proxy for checks and balances, but how do you say that? Personal human judgment is the best check and balance that can be, right? Regulations can only protect you so much.
So we are still very much aware about the danger. The people who are working on AI, they are, what I'm assuming, that they are aware about the danger and things are being under checked right now.
Yes, and luckily the whole world is not under one person's whims and fancies today. Lot of people have to cooperate. Is something like that has to happen also. For example, all banks have to say, yes, we are giving our data.
And why would they do that? It's okay. So AI is not a threat to human beings.
Yes.
Wow.
It can, probably take some jobs like this graphic designer and blog writer, those kind of jobs. But again, they cannot replace humans. They can be an assistant to humans. That's what my analysis is.
So it's a very initial stage. It's a super initial stage, and what the danger that my mind is perceiving is baseless. Is
Not live to see that.
we may not live to see that. Maybe हमारे जन्म में तो नहीं आएगा. It's a good thing. Also, then why like Oppenheimer created atom bomb, and then he started protesting against hydrogen bomb. उसने एकदम he said that blood is on his hand to that then time US president Truman. और वो प्रोटेस्ट करने लग गया हाइड्रोजन बॉम्ब के अगेंस्ट में. सिमिलरली द गाय नेम इज द गॉडफादर ऑफ एआई, जेफरी व्हाट्स हिज नेम, हिल्टन. He has a big role in creating AI, and then he's also protesting again. He's also actually saying that कि ये तो ह्यूमन रेस को खा जाएगा, और he can actually perceive these things कि और हर प्लेटफॉर्म पे जाके वो बोल रहे हैं कि इट इज़ अ थ्रेट टू ह्यूमन बीइंग, इट हैज़ टू बी, इसको रोकना पड़ेगा. Why is he saying like this?
I have not heard much of his viewpoints, so I may not be able to.
It's lot of negativity, like lot of pessimism about AI. Somebody asked him ki does he regret creating AI? He did not say regret. He said partially regrets, like he has some regrets about it. किसी न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स में कहीं तो छपा था. But he has lot of pessimistic viewpoint about AI right now. The way AI is going, उसका उन्होंने जब create किया था तो उनका vision अलग था. But things which are unfolding right now, the way it is growing, the pace that it is growing, वो उनको डरा रहा है. So but again, when I'm talking to you, I'm like more relaxed कि हाँ अच्छा चलो ऐसा कुछ होने नहीं वाला, एटलीस्ट मेरे लाइफ टाइम में. उनका व्यू पॉइंट अगर आप सुनोगे, it is an immediate threat, and a lot has been happening already under the hood, which maybe public doesn't know about it. Or it's an immediate threat. AI is going to be, it's basically going to fuck human race. AI will become immortal while we are mortal. So हमारे
Mortality for AI, the funds drying up on OpenAI will remove that. Their servers will be switched off, right?
Yeah, probably he's talking about a code which goes beyond human control.
You can switch off the computer.
What if he starts copying? We are all talking hypothetical things. That's what. This is again the mind is playing.
Say one what if, I will say another what if.
Yeah. These questions were asked. Anyways, okay.
Coming to the Oppenheimer part, right? There, the cost required to generate something bad was actually manageable. It is feasible to create something in one's own lifetime. Right here, the cost is humongous to do something like that. That's the difference.
And then atom bomb, it's a known fact that अगर वो फोड़ा तो millions will die. Here everything is an hypothesis. And now the current जो AI पे काम चल रहा है is based on the fact that AI is going to make life much more easier, day-to-day life of people, and हर level पे it's going to make life much easier for human race. ये process सोच के काम चल रहा है इस पे. Assistant, हाँ, okay, right.
Not a replacement for humans. That's the key.
Right, okay. But
When do you see, if you are a company, it is very easy for you to fall into the trap of, oh, you know what, I'm going to replace people. There was a company which said, I'm going to replace all my, people because I'm going to use AI. But then they did not see some, Klarna, I don't know the name, maybe I can tell you later. Then they started hiring again. We are talking about Google replacing, Google AI, Gemini, replacing a lot of coders, right? They started a new office near my house.
okay,
Multi-story building. Why did they start a new office? Why are they still hiring engineers?
for Gemini,
Not Gemini. For why is Google writing any code at all in that matter? Why can't they use AI to write the code? Why don't they fire software engineers? Why is OpenAI hiring engineers today? Why can't they use their OpenAI to write the code for OpenAI newly? Right? These questions can call out their bluff.
No, but maybe this is in a very initial stage, right? Writing codes. Maybe down the line, like 10 years बाद में.
Their marketing. Their marketing is, yesterday, day before yesterday, Sam Altman tweeted that I have created a software engine. So and so, so and so. Of course, the tweet's context was different, but he said, you created a software engineer. You have created a software engineer's assistant, not a software engineer. If you claim that you have created a software engineer, then you could use your own software to build more software. No? Why are you hiring engineers for OpenAI in that case?
Okay, so assistant is a right apt word.
Which means you retain control.
I retain control.
When you retain control, you have nothing to fear. Right. Unless you are an idiot.
Right.
Which is why I'm saying an idiot controlling an AI and doing some serious shit with it is more possible in the upcoming few years. AI themselves doing something.
Then the danger that we are talking about. So it goes when it goes in wrong hands, which can be possible, which may be possible, right? AI robot.
That is what E/ACC tries to avoid, by the way.
Matrix kind of situation. Machine will start taking control.
But that is true even for non-AI stuff. Right? It can be US dollars also for that matter.
Yeah. It is mobile phone also. Like the way we are hooked to it, who is controlling whom? It's understood. आप देखो सड़क पे जा रहे हो तो 90% people are looking at mobile. It's like they blew it so मतलब लग रहा है मोबाइल कंट्रोल कर रहा है. मोबाइल उनको लेके जा रहा है. So yeah, and social media and yeah, you rightly you said the example you just said, right? Wow, it's so AI. Okay, lot of positive things. मैं सोच के आया था कि पॉडकास्ट में AI को लेकर के I had lot of pessimism about it कि AI ऐसा करेगा वैसा करेगा, but yeah, good. Okay, final question कि what should be the final question? How do you see AI next 10 years? कहाँ तक जाएगा with the current pace which is going on?
So one area where I am, positive AI will go into, whether it lives out the hype cycle or not, is it can start doing things in real world. For example, right now, what people do is called a copy and paste into chatbot workflow. Whatever you want, let's say I wrote a letter, I wrote an email, I want to make it better. What I do, I copy from there, paste into chatbot, make this better, you will type and then press enter. Chatbot will say something and then you copy paste back into your email. This is a copy and paste into chatbot kind of a workflow. I see that disappearing over a period of time, where there will be something that I spoke about AI agents, right? Where it will automatically take inputs from, let's say, your emails. So Satya Nadella gave an example of a very nice AI agent that he uses today. He said in a podcast, Hey, you know what? Every day in the morning when I come to office, there is an AI agent that wakes up the night before and looks at all the emails that came in the night and creates draft responses for them and keeps it in the draft folder so that in the morning when I go to the office, I can see whether the drafts are, if the draft is okay, I will send it, press send. Otherwise, I will edit something and then press send. Now, those kind of workflows are what I'm expecting to start slowly.
Okay.
At least in the next 1-2 years, it is going to be the year of agents where AI, these LLMs will be integrated into some already existing software solution, already existing system, not necessarily software. It could be, you could ask, a AI to probably book movie tickets for you, book airline tickets for you using this way. That is one thing. Uh, Second thing where I see AI sort of going is, now, if you see our today's AI is very much into text, right? And a little bit of image generation is coming. If you had asked me 2-3 months back, I would have told image generation is going to get a lot better, but ChatGPT's image generation model somehow beat that. They are able to put text inside images reliably. Previously, that was not possible, right? Uh, Integration of AI with traditional computing stuff. For example, AI by default in LLMs at least, they cannot do big number mathematics, right? Big number mathematics it cannot do because it is just predicting the next word again and again. And if that number has not appeared previously in enough number of text, it is going to just guess something, hallucinate very confidently and say that this is a number, right? Give a number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to the power of 10. What is it? It may not be able to ex- ex- you know, answer it very accurately. What I see is that these kind of workflows, and today, whenever you talk about people talking about, they'll talk about, I'm going to analyze huge number of data using AI. Basic, if it cannot do big number math, how are you going to analyze? Those limitations will start coming out in the open. Now, very few people are sort of talking about it, but that is going to happen, and people are going to find out how you can stitch multiple things together, right? AI doing some real world stuff is one part, AI agents, but also stitching already existing known things which do some things well. For example, I would rather create a small Python program to do this and use LLM to create pretty sentences and stitch them together and do something, right? Those kind of things can happen.
What about in-house works, household works, AI robots? Do you see AI robots next 10 years?
AI robots, people are reporting that they're already there, but you know, one roadblock that I see there is the accuracy. AI is always not accurate. 100% accurate nahi ho sakta hai. Which means world has to adapt to it not being accurate, and robot is a very sensitive thing. What if it malfunctions, it gives you a wrong output, and it, instead of cutting the onion, it comes and cuts you,
Mm,
right? Or instead of mopping the floor, it mops your face. Right? All these things can happen, and people cannot live with such outcomes. So that accuracy part also has to improve. There is a lot of research going on today about how to improve that accuracy and all, but it's a moving target. But it can never reach 100% theoretically, like we do for other applications, right? It can certainly do this thing. You cannot say with surety that it will properly produce. So 2 plus 3 देंगे तो 5 ही देगा. That kind of determinism is lacking.
but I've heard that even medical field AI is being implemented, like diagnostics.
Yes, diagnostics is another example. Diagnostics is already probabilistic to some extent. Even today, what they see, they look at symptoms and say, you know what, this could possibly be the reason. It's always guesswork, okay? So we could probably give that. It can do some diagnostics, and the diagnostics also
It has to be verified by doctor also, is there? That is the main. Okay.
you need to have the keyword is human in the loop.
Right. So instead of like a team of 10 people doing the diagnosis, maybe a team of 2 people will do the diagnosis. 8 the level of like the हाँ ये possible outcomes हैं, it has to be verified by 2 people. वो 5-6 लोगों की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी जो लोग देखते थे. Okay, got it.
It's the same as automation, but 10 years is too far a timeline to predict, because we need to wait and to see if this is just a hype or this is actually going to do something about it.
Okay.
Right now it is in the case of hype because the cost dynamics are not still working.
So वो सब फालतू फैंसी ड्रीम है कि ह्यूमन और एआई का शादी भी होगा, एंड एआई की लड़की होगी विथ विथ अ गुड सिलिकॉन बॉडी एंड विथ अ गुड माइंड हु इज सो लविंग एंड नोइंग टू यू एंड देन
Fictional universe. Certainly fictional universe. No question of that happening.
ऑलराइट आई मीन नाउ तो अच्छा है आई मीन ठीक है इट्स लेट्स सी ऑलराइट आई थिंक वी शुड बी रैपिंग अप थैंक यू फॉर कमिंग ऑन तेरी मेरी कहानी
Thank you very much. Nice questions.
ओके गुड वेरी इंसाइटफुल मेरा एक्चुअली ओके वी आर डन अभी हम लोग कुछ भी बात कर सकते हैं